You are listening to the Run the Rack Outdoors podcast, where we take an all-in, leave no doubt approach to all things adventure hunting. From the big woods to the high country. How about that? Let's learn together as we discuss with our expert guests on what it takes to be successful in the backcountry. I'm your host, Weston Homa. Let's get into it. Go Hunt has a single purpose: make it easier for hunters to get into the field. Hunting tags are only getting harder to obtain, and Go Hunt is a research platform helping navigate the ins and outs of drawing tags and researching hunts across the West. I've had a Go Hunt membership for years now, and I'm a big fan of the articles written on there by Brady and Trail. The content is next level stuff that has helped me a ton. From animal behavior to archery, they are sharing all the nuggets. I also love the hunt films on YouTube. They are extremely inspirational, and they'll make you want to get out in the mountains ASAP. Check out the Go Hunt Gear Shop, where they have everything you need for this coming hunting season. Use the code RACK, that's R-A-C-K, for 10% off eligible items in the shop. And you can use the code RACK for $50 in-shop credit when you join as an insider. So sign up for a membership and immediately get $50 back toward hunting gear. Check it out, you won't regret it. Mountain Tough produces industry-leading functional fitness programming tested and proven by backcountry hunters and mountain athletes. Mountain Tough's programming allows users to train at home, at the gym, or on the go. These videos are like having a personal trainer right there with you every workout, wherever you are. Guys, I've been rocking the Mountain Tough workouts this past summer. I've been doing the mountain strength workouts as I'm putting on a ton of miles prepping for my 100-mile ultramarathon. This way, I'm going to be totally ready for hunting season once September comes around. There's also so much more video content on the app, including nutrition, yoga, mental health, and one of my personal favorites is the daily mobility. Use code RACK for 1 free month on the app. That's RACK, R-A-C-K, for 1 entire free month to try it out. Give it a look, and let's get Mountain Tough. All right, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Run the Rack Outdoors podcast. So, this episode will recap my experience at the Eastern States 100-mile ultramarathon that took place this past weekend. This podcast episode will probably not be one of my most favorite recordings. It's not going to go in a way I thought it was going to go when I came up with the idea of releasing a recap episode after the race. Long story short, if you're just tuning into this now and haven't seen any of my other content put out there, I took a DNF in this race, which means did not finish. To give a little bit of background about this race in particular, Eastern States is a 103-mile single loop trail race. 98% of it is on single or double track in the PA Wilds region of the Allegheny Plateau in north central PA. The race circumnavigates a portion of the stunning Pine Creek watershed that includes some of our longest climbs and most technical and remote terrain. It visits storied trails like the Midstate Trail and the Black Forest Trail and accumulates over 20,000 feet of climbing in the process. 20,000 feet of climb. To put that in perspective, Mount Everest is about 30,000 feet. So this is one of the tougher 100 miles, not only on the East Coast, but in the country. The trails were so technical. They were filled with a lot of rock. It was not like some nice, easy dirt trail that is really nice on the body and really runnable. It was definitely a challenge. So over the years, Eastern States, I guess they used to have a qualifier for this race, basically just to make sure whoever enters is capable of finishing this race. But they did away with that, I guess, the last couple years. And now they have people sign up and give it a shot. But basically, what they've been seeing the last few years is about a 50% dropout rate, meaning half the people that toe the line do not even finish. And this past year, from what I remember, there was about 250 or so runners that registered, and last I checked, I think there was about 130 that made it to the finish line under the cutoff time, which was 36 hours, which sounds like a decent bit, but for a 100-miler, and especially a 100-miler with this much climb, that's pretty strict. So that is the Eastern States 100. It's not a fast 100 miler. So I don't really like to compare 100-mile times with people. Like if somebody says they ran 100, they're talking about time. I want to know all the details of the race. I mean, there's flat hundreds with like not much climbing that, a lot of the participants get under 20 hours. And, some people that win them are doing them in like 15 hours. But this race with this much climb, I think the winner is usually in the 21, 22 hour range, and believe the first place winner of this year was 22 hours. So this isn't a fast 100, but it's definitely one with a lot of climb and will kick your butt. To also put this in perspective too, some popular trail races out west, like the Leadville 100, has, I believe, 18,000 feet of gain. So that race, and I'm not saying this one's harder than that one or whatever, because that one goes over like 13,000 foot of elevation. So you're dealing with altitude and all that. But that puts this in perspective. Like this race in, Pennsylvania has that much climb relative to some popular races out west. Basically how they get to that 20,000 number, every section of the race, you're basically climbing up a 1,500 foot climb to a 2,000 foot top of the ridge. And you run the ridge and then you bomb down. Maybe you get to another aid station and then you bomb back up and do it again over and over and over. So that is the race. It's definitely a tough race. All that being said, when I signed up for this race, I knew I wanted to do a 100-miler this year. That was a huge goal of mine. I believed I was ready. I had done 50Ks in the past. I've really grown as a trail runner the last few years. I did Laurel Highlands Ultra, which is a point-to-point 70-mile trail race last year in 15 hours and 16 minutes. That put me in 18th or 19th out of 200-some runners. I ran that race very well. Knew I could even have done it better. I just knew I was ready for 100 miles. 100%. Was going to put in a ton of good training, and I had 100 miles in me, no doubt. Not only that, I wanted to compete in the 100-miler that I ran. I really didn't want to write the story of I finished just barely within the cutoff range. And if that is somebody's goal, that's incredible. I'm not knocking that. I have the utmost respect for not only just the people that finished, but just the people that showed up and towed the line. Like the courage it takes just to get there is impressive. So I'm not knocking anybody for any of that. Like this was just my goal for my 100-miler I wanted to do this year. I looked at a ton of races. I put in for couple lotteries, didn't have any luck, and I found Eastern States beginning of August, only a few hour drive from where I live, and I thought this would be a great 100-miler to do. But at the time I registered, the only thing that was available were solo and unsupported, no crew division, basically. So it basically comes down to a permitting thing. They don't want too many people at the aid stations, too many cars. Like they get all the permits through the Forest Service and parks or whatever. They opened up a number of slots for people that just said, hey, you can come, you can run it, but you can't have, people crewing you or pacing you or anything like that. So I decided I could do that. I knew it was going to be lofty. It was going to be tough. My first 100-miler, doing one of the toughest ones out there, and doing it solo, unsupported. Also, wanted to compete. And that was my mindset going into this. So I put in a good training block. Wasn't as long as I would have hoped. If people have been following along, I actually broke my ankle this past November. I was posted up on the couch for a couple months, 6 weeks. I think it was that. And then I was able to walk in a boot. But I really couldn't run again until about February. And then every week or two, I'd have something in my kinematic chain flare up because that ankle was weak and I had to do a bunch of PT, figure that out. Really couldn't start running hard till March. But then I had a huge marathon goal in June. So a lot of my running was geared for marathon training, a lot of speed work, and what I get to like a few 70-mile weeks. Just worked up to that week by week. Was not spending a ton of time on trail, to be honest, at that time. Did that marathon. That was Grandma's marathon, kind of that third week in June, and ran that in 2 hours and 48 minutes. And my goal was 2 hour and 50-minute marathon. So I achieved that goal. Took a week off. Well, I think I did 1 or 2 easy runs during that week, but they were kind of just to shake out. But really jumped into a training block 1 week after that. I remember doing about 10 miles the Sunday thereafter that race. So I guess like 8 days later, did a 10-mile run on the road, and I felt 100%. So I jumped right into a training block for this 100-miler. I put together 3 weeks, really hard on the trails, running every day. I did an 80-mile week, a 90-mile week, and then a 100-mile week. I think it was about a 15-hour training week, and then 18 hours, and then 20 hours. Also worked up to, I forget how much climb, 20,000, something like that. Similar to the race. Did large back-to-back runs on the weekends where I would do like a 20-mile run on a Saturday and then follow that up again with the same thing the next day. So that's kind of what my training looked like. I have training videos on my YouTube. I post it every week during this whole prep. If people want to go check those out. And that kind of walks through everything. But this was my whole mindset going into this race. So I just wanted to give that little bit of background here in the first 10 minutes. This was the race. That was my goal, was to do this competitively. And yeah, so I would really love to now just kind of share how the race went and everything like that. So the race started Saturday at 5 a.m. I got up there Friday evening to check in, and I'm telling you, this was one of like just the funnest weekends, really. It was, all of it. But this Friday night was like really awesome because we were in this state park and we're up in the PA wilds, very small towns, no cell service really anywhere. Checked in, and then I'm sure a lot of people, I think it was about a half hour from like Lock Haven and things like that. People get hotels there, maybe Airbnbs. But a lot of people, and a common thing for these ultras, is they let you just pitch a tent right at the start line or whatever. And that's what a lot of people did. So there was no cell service. Everybody's just pitching tents. It's all the runners or maybe some of their crew. And yeah, like I said, no cell service. So it's like everybody's just in the moment. And all the runners there are about to embark on something extremely hard on the body, on the mind. And no matter if it was somebody gearing up to run it to win or just to finish before the cutoff, everybody was going into this with the same level of effort. So everybody could relate to the same journey. So it was really special to connect with people up there. So I remember I set up my tent and just started talking to a few people. And even that night just had like a circle of people just in camp chairs. Again, nobody on their phones, no technology, just pitching tents. We're all talking about running and just, adventurous things. Some guys I talked to were big into hunting too. And just shout out to all those guys. Like, just really cool, man. Like, really cool. I can't remember, outside of us going to like deer camp and stuff like that, like, when do we ever kind of plug away and just sit down with cool people, no technology, and just chop it up? And it was cool because it was a lot of people that, I never met before. And I think those are just special times. I think we totally get away from that now. And it was just all the more special about, everybody's camping out, going to get just a few hours of sleep. It's not even like you get a good night's sleep because everybody's got to wake up at 3 a.m. and then run 100 miles. So it was just like a really cool Friday night. They had a big check-in there. There was no like pre-race dinner. I brought a dehydrated Peak refuel, and then I added a bunch of brown rice that I made. So that's kind of been like one of my go-to carbs for my training and everything. Just makes me feel good. Doesn't make me feel like bloated either. Just gives me all that energy I need to do a big effort. So that was dinner, and hung out with some guys and just talked to people, fun conversation. And then went to bed in my Hilleberg, set an alarm for 3 a.m., and got ready to race. So I went into that evening. I just found that I don't try to force myself to lock in, so to speak. I just be myself. And it does kind of take the pressure off of these lofty goals that I have and everything that I'm going to do. And I just try to be present in the moment. But when I woke up Saturday morning, I mean, it's all business. We're ready to rock and roll. So I wanted to get up a couple hours early. I mean, the start line is right there, 5 a.m. Wanted to get checked all back in by, quarter till or whatever, get all ready. But I wanted to wake up early enough to get some good calories in. I think I ate 2 whole wheat bagels and a banana and just grabbed some little stuff like that. Kind of let that digest and then got all ready and went to the start line. So bunch of people there, a couple hundred runners. Everybody had their headlights on. And it was just so cool. Such an awesome experience. I wanted to say, too, I had planned, and I still am going to put it out, an entire YouTube race documentary style film for this weekend. So I filmed a lot of it Friday night, getting set up. And then Saturday, during the day, I had my GoPro on me for the whole race. Actually, some of these friends that I met, guys in their crews, videoed me coming into aid stations. So I got some of that film. I really thank those guys for that. They saw some of my YouTube and stuff before, which was really cool. So they helped me get some footage there. And then I had planned to have a friend at the finish line to help get some really good footage as well. But you'll kind of see what happens here. So anyway, we start off and I get right to the front pack and they give a big ready, set, go. And we took off. That first mile was all on the road. It was in the dark. We all had our headlights, and we were just eating it. That first mile, my watch ticked off at 7 minutes and 22 seconds. So, I mean, that's not breaking a record, but for 100 miles, you throw in a 7-minute mile right at the start. Yeah, you're moving. But I loved it. I was so ready. My body felt so good. I really felt like this was going to be my best day. So that first mile we run on the road, and then we bomb into on the trails there, get up in the mountains. And I had gone up to this course during my training, and I ran the first 17 miles of the course. And then I did like a 5-mile trail back to where I camp off course just to get me back to where I needed to be, because I did 22 miles that day. But anyway, I knew right at the start here, there's like a ton of climbing, huge climbs, and I could tell people were a little taken back, but I knew what to expect. And big race like this, honestly, those first 10, 20 miles, they kind of just have to like go effortless. Like that sounds crazy, but so fueled up, adrenaline's just pumping. And also I'm just enjoying it so much. I don't even touch my headphones or anything like that for a good bit towards the race till I settle in. But that's what it was. And honestly, I was in the top group. I knew there was a few guys out ahead that I don't think I saw, but I was in that very next wave, honestly, probably around the top 10 or that 10 to 12. And I hung there for a long time. It was really awesome. I felt like I was running my best race. I still felt like I wasn't redlining. I knew a big part of hundreds where people say they make a mistake is they come out way too hard. And I don't know if this is me just being a young, unexperienced 100-miler, but my thought was, well, I'm sure when I get to mile 70, it's going to hurt no matter what, and I'm going to wish I wouldn't have started too fast, so I might as well go if I feel good. And we had great weather. It was a cool morning. It didn't rain or anything, wasn't humid. It was great. So I was like, I'm just going to hammer it. Like, I felt so good. So I was with this pack of guys, and there's aid stations every 6 to 9 miles. And really, till mile 17, everything was just effortless. And it was just a blur. Like, next thing I knew, I was at mile 17, and that was aid station 3, and that was the first big aid station. That's where you could get your first drop bag. So this whole race, 100 miles, there was 15 aid stations, all sectioned out, like I said, 6 to 9 miles. But there was 5 aid stations that were like really big, and that's where you could have your drop bags. So basically, just picture what I did was I had bought the jumbo Ziploc bags. They're like 2.5-gallon bags from, Walmart. And I filled those up for what I needed and strategically had them at certain parts of the race, knowing what I might need at that time. So mile 17 was the first one. I didn't even have that much in there, but I figured I might as well make a drop bag and put in the electrolytes and the carb drinks and snacks that I knew I liked, sunscreen, like bug spray, things like that. Oh, speaking of bugs, wasn't too bad, but of course, like at mile 4, felt like somebody stabbed me in the back. My first thought was like, oh, this is a black fly, but I swear it might have been like a wasp or something. I don't know. Like, I was like, of course, I just get lit up by something. Oh, it was terrible. But, you run for another mile and you totally forget about it. But it was just like one of those funny things. Like, you have to be kidding me. Like, I got stung by something like bad. But other than that, no, that wasn't too bad of an issue. But anyway, yeah, rolled into Lower Pine. That was the mile 17 big aid station, and a ton of people. So there was so much energy by all these spectators, all these, everybody has like, most runners have like a big crew helping them. But yeah, spectators. Like, so many people at these big aid stations all throughout the race. So all these little towns up there that we ran through. So it like starts near this town, Waterville, these other towns, Blackwell. I don't know, this whole region. I'm sure people come from like the State College and Lock Haven area, but there were so many people, and it just made it like an awesome time. This is a big popular race. So real quick too. So Eastern States, it all stems from what's called Western States, and that's the most historic ultra marathon in the country. It was the first 100-miler, I believe. There's a crazy backstory where it used to be a horse race for 100 miles, and one guy's horse just like went limp, and then he did the rest of it on foot. And then from there on out, they decided to have people running it. And then I think they still race the horses, though, like in a separate thing. But that's how Western States was born. I think that was back in like the 70s. Don't quote me. But since then, I guess now there's like other. So now it blossomed. There's Eastern States, there's Southern States, there's Midwestern States, I believe. And these kind of grew into fruition, all stemming from that. And Western States is still huge and popular, and hopefully I get to run that one day. But anyway, yeah, so many people spectating. It was awesome, great energy. That's what I love about ultra. Seriously, if people are listening to this and they want to get into running more, running races, maybe even trail running specifically, you won't find a better community of not just the people participating, but the people supporting. Everybody that's like an ultra runner also, has experience crewing and pacing other people, just because they know, how much that means. And it's just such great energy, such positive people. And anyway, it was great. So that was mile 17. I just kept rolling. I was with this top group, and I don't even know, like, I don't even have much to say. Like, I just was throwing down, and I felt great. Again, still staying in that top 15, top 10. And I could really flash forward here to about, I don't know. So the next big aid was Heiner Run State Park. So another big place with like a ton of people, like dozens and dozens and dozens of spectators. Really big aid station. That was my next drop bag. And I went there, and again, feeling really good. And it was just hit me like I'm 43 miles into this 100-mile race. I'm competing. Everything's going right. And 43 miles is nothing to bat an eye about. Like, you're not even halfway. But I felt very good getting in calories. So that's something that happens during big ultras too. There's so much just blood and energy and effort and everything going into your legs. Your body starts pulling resources just to keep them going. And it can take away from your digestive system wanting to work properly. basically your brain will just say like, hey, we're pulling resources and energy from everywhere else, digestive system, everywhere, just to focus on our legs. So some people have a hard time, like they might look at food and they know they need it, but like they can't get it down. Kind of had this experience in my 70-mile race last year. But there's the race, man, I was staying on top of my fluids. I was trying to make sure I drank I had my own kind of mix blend together of a scoop of Tailwind and also a scoop of BPN electrolytes. So in total there, that was 100 calories, 25 carbs, and 800 milligrams of salt. So the reason I mixed the two was because I was like, oh, I can put these in little Ziploc bags, and they're like then portable. So I'd like put 3 or 4 of those in my drop bags, and that would take me, 3 or 4 hours to my next drop bag or whatever. So I just keep those in my vest, and that's how I strategically did that. Also, during that hour, I try to get something else, more carbs, maybe another gel or a honey stinger or just something little. Try to get like at least 60 grams of carbs. Try to be mindful of that per hour. Depending on how hot it was, I'd get through either half of each or both full bottles on my vest, on my chest. That's 32 ounces in total. Yeah, heat of the day, I was probably both those per hour. And then I kept another 32 ounce like bottle like on my back. And then I'd had parts of the race where I'd pull that out and refill my bottles before I even got to an aid station if there was a long section between two of them. But that's kind of what I shot for. At least like 60 grams of carbs per hour, 16 to 32 ounces of fluid, depending on, how much I was sweating, and just kind of going off feel a little bit too. I try not to nerd out too much because I don't want to like take the fun out of it. But I try to, just stay on top of that because it's fuel. And then, yeah, with that, then with those fluids, I was getting 800 milligrams of salt per 32 ounces. That's kind of how that all rationed out. I rambled there. If you have questions on that, feel free to reach out, because seriously, that's not what took me out of this race. My body felt great. I was eating mile 60, 70. Like I was grabbing I think I grabbed Pop-Tart, which I normally wouldn't grab. I'm always afraid that will mess me up, but I was like, I'm good. Like I want calories. I'm a little hungry. I was eating like potatoes and meatballs. Like I just put a bunch of salt on it. That's just like a common thing that you'll see at aid stations. And yeah, so no, I was getting calories in. I felt like that didn't hold me back. Drinking fluids and staying on top of salt, all good. So we can really flash forward through like all the way to mile 50. All right, so it's mile 50. I'd say, I don't know, I'm in 10th place. Okay, maybe 15 to be safe. I don't know. But I got to mile 50 in 11 hours. And like I said, the winner of this race crossed the line in 22 and a half hours or something like that. So I had my parents come to watch me finish. And that would have been, I knew, obviously Sunday morning, but they wanted to see me Saturday night. And that was allowed, even though I was in a solo, unsupported crew. They were allowed to come to a big aid station that allowed people there and just spectate. They weren't allowed to hand me anything, but that was the plan. So I remember even calling them at mile 50 and saying, like, hey, so mile 62, that aid station was where they were going to come visit. I remember calling them. I had a little bit of service at this time around mile 50, and I said, hey, I know you guys are probably getting there early, but just be on the lookout for me, because that was Tombs Flat. So that's the big creek crossing. And I'll talk about that in a little bit. But my goal, my sub 24 hour A goal, which I thought was so lofty, meant I had to get there by like 6:30 or so. Well, I was way on pace for that. And I called them. I said, like, hey, I don't want to get too excited, but I hope you guys are there like maybe even by 6. So I was excited. Again, feeling so good. So this first 50 miles, I'm competing. I'm feeling good. I know I'm doing this 100 miles. I have it in me. I have it in me to like put in a great effort. And being solo and unsupported, I was curious about how many people ahead of me were also in my division. I was like, man, what if I could take a top spot in like the solo division? So these are all things going through my head, but I was still taking, 1 mile at a time. Not to say like it was easy to this point. Like there's no way to run 50 miles easy. But again, just all good stuff. Started to get a little tough because this was now the heat of the day and that sun was just baking you. But I knew, everybody's going through that. We were running through some like big power lines that were just wide open, were really exposed, and that will just drain you. But Try to just stay more on top of fluids and the salt. I could tell like my lower half was just getting stiff. I remember just like running and I was like, wait, I'm just going to stop for 2 minutes and do a little bit of leg kicks and like hip swings and stuff, like just to loosen up, just because like I knew that I was maybe getting a little low on salt and just stiff. And that like helped so much. So I remember doing that. And then getting to about mile 57, I think there was an aid station. And I remember rolling in there thinking, something's going on with my knee. And this is kind of where things took a turn. So I started to just notice there was a problem. So I didn't freak out or anything. And there's a lot of things that can happen running an ultra where something flares up, but honestly, a few miles later, it's gone. So I try to tell myself that that's what this was. Yeah, try to just put it to the back burner. But by mile 57, 58, 59, it really started to flare up. It was right on the inside of my right knee. And I just knew it was like not a pain of like, oh my God, I just ran 50 miles, my legs hurt. This is like a injury kind of pain starting to set in. But try to block it out, take 1 mile at a time, and go from there. So coming down into Tombs Flat, which again is mile 62, you get to a big creek crossing, and I had started to slow down. I knew, okay, maybe I went out a little too hard. I still have this race under control, but there's no point of me trying to even destroy my A goal, because I was always trying to be mindful of like, I don't want to blow up. So I got there later than my A goal that I told my parents. They didn't have to like rush there. But I still got to Tombs Flat, mile 62, crossing the creek in the daytime, and that was like a big carrot I wanted to do. So again, I'm still in, I'd say, the front pack, the race-ish. I cross the creek, and I see my parents, and my parents are just so supportive. Like, I can't even describe. Like, just to come up there, get a hotel, see me just for like not that long of a time. I leave, and they were going to get up early and see me finish in the morning. And just everything they've been doing after the race for me, like, I can't say it enough. My dad had a big sheet of cardboard in his truck, and he wrote a big sign that said "Go West." And it was just awesome. And that gave me so much energy to come out of that aid station. I spent a lot of time there because I had to change shoes. So you cross this creek, you have to hold on to this rope, and it's like knee deep, thigh deep. And I was like, there's still, I mean, you're at mile 62. And like part of me was like, do I want to change shoes? But 38 more miles left. Actually, scratch that. This is a 102-mile race, or 103. 40 more miles. Like, you're not close. Like, you're not. So I got to that aid station, and I knew I had this CBD cream that I've like rarely ever used, but I knew like it's like kind of like icy hot or like biofreeze, but it doesn't get hot. But it kind of like numbs everything. So I was just rubbing that all over my knee, and I got some good calories in. I was eating like some real food. That's where I had those meatballs and potatoes, and I grabbed some other snacks and like fueled up. Chicken broth was like my savior. It was something like warm, a lot of salt in there, like still some flavor, good fluids, chugging on that. And I felt good, man. I knew this knee was like a problem, but I was like, I can still finish at a good time. Like if I fall a little bit, it's fine. Got out of there, threw my headlight on because it was starting to get dark. And this is kind of where everything just started to go horrible. So this knee, I think, all stem from how technical the trail was. A lot of these trails have these rocks just all throughout, and it's almost like you're trying to run on a landmine through a lot of them, of just like football-sized rocks stuck in the ground, and you're just constantly kicking them. Like, I thought I broke all my toes. Well, I knew I actually didn't, but they're all sore. And I think what happened was, over the course of the day, probably dozens and dozens of times, my right foot would catch a rock and my knee would drive forward. And it was this constant twist in my knee, like every time. And I knew, and that's what I'm guessing what happened, because there was no one moment where I was like, oh, my knee. But every time thereafter, after I had this pain, that's what flared it up way worse. And it was starting to get bad. So again, like the rest of my body is in pain. Like the pain of running 60 miles is one thing, and I'm fighting that, and I can run through that. I've done that before. I've done that before and ran very well. This was different, and it was starting to set in. And at this point, people were starting to pass me. That really does hurt your confidence, honestly, out there. But at this point, I was like, hey, goals change. That's fine. This isn't really a controllable at this point. But I'm going to make it to the next aid station and see what medic can do for me. So at mile 73, there was a small little aid station. I went to the medic tent and I said, hey, this needs a problem. And it's getting worse. Like, it's getting bad. They said, all we can do is kind of wrap it up for you, buddy. Like, I don't know. Like, there's not much we can do. So wrapped it up. I was like, all right, maybe this will be like some sort of placebo or something. Try to fuel up there. Try to stay positive. Again, people are passing me, time slipping. But I decided right there that, running was out. Like, it hurt that bad. I can't even describe. It was killing me. And honestly, if I was really concerned about longevity and things like that, and like, oh, well, I got these hunts coming up, and that's the thing. Like, that was in my mind. I'm hunting high country mule deer in Colorado. I'm leaving at the end of August here, backpacking up to 13,000 feet, running around chasing mule deer. And then I'm going to go to Idaho mid-September and literally probably hike 10, 15, 20 miles a day looking for screaming, bugling elk through the mountains in Idaho. So, but I knew all this. I signed up for this race and I knew probably be dealing with pain and stuff, but this was, like I said, an injury that was coming on. So I had it wrapped up and I said, I'm just going to hike because I couldn't bear another minute running. And honestly, running in the dark, I noticed I kept kicking rocks again. And every time I kick a rock with my right foot, that knee would just twist and it was bad, like really bad. I was like, I can't afford to keep doing that either. I wouldn't even run if I could. So I said, okay, we're at like mile 70, whatever, 73. We got 30 more miles left. I'm just going to hike. I don't care. I'm going to hike for 30 miles. All these people are going to pass me. I have plenty of time. My goal was not, like I said, to finish this race just under 36 hours, like hike most of it or whatever. That's not what I wanted. And I knew pushing it hard could run the risk of like not getting the buckle. And I want my 100-mile buckle, but I also want to do it in the way I want to do it. And the way I want to do it is putting in a huge effort where I can competitively run in the race. I can't really say, first place or bust. I'm not saying I had the even ability to do that, but I wanted to run it hard and leave with the tank empty with a buckle in my hand. So at this point, though, I'm now just hiking. So 1 o'clock in the morning by myself with a headlight on in the mountains of Pennsylvania, and I'm hiking on a extremely pain-filled knee. When I say it's important in life to break things down in smaller bites, like how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time? If it's too big, take a smaller bite and keep breaking it down, breaking it down. That's how you get through an ultra. And these hard times like this is how I was getting through just what I was doing. Like, it was mile by mile, and then it became half mile by half mile, and then it became step. So it literally was, can I take another step? Yes, I took another step. Can I take another step? Yes, I took another step. I hiked from 73 to about 77. No aid stations, nothing. A couple people passed me, but I'm just by myself with the headlight on, dark in the middle of the night. And this is when things got really bad and really scary too, honestly, and weird. So at mile 77, I remember it like clear as day. I could no longer hike. I had to limp. I had to use my poles. Luckily, I had trekking poles or I'd be laying on the trail. I had to use my trekking poles to put out in front of me, move my good left leg one step, and then my right leg would drag and follow. I had to do that for 3 miles. It literally took me, if people want to audit this, like my paces are on Strava, I think it was 35-minute miles. So almost like probably 2 hours to get to 77 to 80. I remember around 78, again, the craziest experience, like, you talk about time, like hours just to go a couple miles. Like, just the mental games. It was just an experience so filled with pain and just trying to take one step at a time, literally. This is when it settled in that I am a little bit in survival mode, and we just have to make it to mile 80 because that was the next big aid station. Also, I'm not running, so my heart rate is now like pretty low, and things are just starting to like stiffen up, settle in, and I'm crashing tired. Like, I wish I could run just to help keep the energy up, my heart rate up, but it's all just hitting me. So I said, screw it. I'm going to take a dirt nap. Again, by myself in the middle of state forest in Pennsylvania up on some mountain. There's a log on the side of the trail covered in moss. I laid on that, curled up like a little cat, and I shut my eyes, and I looked at my time on my watch. I didn't set an alarm, but I was like, I'm just going to lay here and close my eyes for 5 minutes. So a common thing in big ultras is hallucinating, and I never thought it happened to me at 70 some. I thought maybe like when you get to mile 90, like it's more popular in like the 200-mile races. And I don't know if I'm calling this one hallucination, but here's what happened. I was laying there, I shut my eyes, and I swear to God, I was at an aid station. I saw people's faces. I could hear their conversations. I could hear them talking to me. I saw all the food. I saw everything going on, and I could hear everything clear as day. It was like I was there. I was there. So I don't know if that's a hallucination or not. If that's like, chalk that up as my first one, but it was the most surreal thing. Like, it was I had my eyes shut, and it was just like a dream, but it was real life. I can't even explain it. I think it was my brain was so fixated on getting there. It was such on my mind and just being so depleted and everything. Yeah, that's just what happened. So I don't know. Maybe I got my first hallucination there. So that was an experience. I opened my eyes back up. Again, there's nobody around me. There's nothing. It's quiet. It's dark. Obviously, I wasn't at an aid station. I was just on the side of the trail in the middle of the woods. I looked down at my watch. I think like 10 minutes had passed. Again, we're just in survival mode. I limped those 3 miles. And gosh, I'm already at 42 minutes here. But yeah, so I wanted to just get there. I limped into this aid station. I talked to medic and I said, I need help bad. Like, I cannot take this pain. I cannot take another step. It was really, really frustrating because the rest of my body was fine. Like, my left leg was fine. I knew I could probably run if it wasn't for my knee. And it's just really unfortunate. And I got there, medic like looked at everything, and I think they even said too, there's something here with your MCL, and somebody said something too, like, hey, you don't want to do permanent damage. It might be smart to quit now before something bad happens. And I said, hey, I had this conversation in my head 10 miles ago. Like, I'm already past that point. Like, I already did the damage. Like I'm already screwed. It's like something like how I said, but the more I sat there, the more everything hurt. So I literally had like 17 or 18 hours to go the last 20 miles, which, like, yeah, you could walk, but when I say I couldn't take another step on this leg, like, I felt like I gave my all just to get there. And it just, like I said, it sucks. It was horrible. You put yourself out there, and I love to do that. I love, maybe if it adds a little bit of pressure or whatever, but that's how confident I am doing these big goals and things like that, to put myself out there and say this is what I'm going to do. But you have to understand too, like, you can't be afraid to fail. Whether you want to put yourself out there or not, you're still signing the contract of like, hey, there's this big thing, and I'm going to put it on the calendar, and I'm going to do it. That's great. If you keep that promise to yourself, you have to understand you can limit the risk of failing with extra hard work, no doubt. But there's always that chance of failure, and you can't be afraid from it. And that's what happened to me. So I did not get my buckle. I decided to call it there. I felt like even if I slept there for like 2 hours or whatever, it was only going to get worse, which I can attest to because it's not like my legs got better throughout the rest of that morning. But yeah, so DNF, turned in my bib. I sat around this fire by myself with these random people I don't even know. This little girl was like being really cute and like trying to help me and everything and give me like some soup, and it was cute and she was nice, and like she was just talking about whatever. I don't think I was hallucinating. Like, I'm pretty sure this was real. But yeah, everybody was just so nice. Like I'm sitting there all sweaty and it's cold. So I put my emergency like my space blanket on, and people gave me other blankets, and I kind of had to sit there till my parents could get me from somewhere. Like that's the thing, you're 30 miles from the start finish. And that's on the trail. So you got these little local back roads. Like it was a half-hour drive just to get to the start finish. So I had to wait there till my parents woke up, and then they met me at the start finish, and I had some stranger lady, God bless her, and all the volunteers, drive my crippled self to the start finish. And that was it. That was Eastern States. And it did not go like I thought it was going to go. It sucks sitting here not having a buckle. I've heard a lot of stories about people that say, you know, oh, my first 100 miler or first 100K or whatever, you know, they quit and then they have some food and they take a nap, or they just sit there and then they immediately like regret it and think like I could have done more. I can't honestly say that that was me. I'm really putting myself back there and having 23 miles, you know, dang near a marathon to go, still with a lot of climbing. Like I did 80 miles with 16,000 feet of climbing. So I had another 23 miles with 4,000 more feet. I wanted to just vomit at the idea of taking another step from out of that aid station. So obviously there's so much I'm going to learn from this. So much more I'm going to do to prepare. So much more I'm going to make sure that doesn't happen again. And I'll share all that, but I think a big part of this was a little bit of some uncontrollable injury. And, you know, you're always asking yourself, am I hurt or am I injured? Am I hurt or am I injured? And shoot, dude, I was saying that at mile 60, and I pushed through that for 20 more miles. I had a buddy say like, oh, I used this cream in like a 50K that helped me one time. And I was like, oh no, I had some stuff that helped me. And like when I was in pain, I did that. And then I and I went another 20 miles. So it's like I went through as far as I could after like I wanted to quit and was in pain. I pushed it another 20 miles. So I don't know. It's been a lot to think about. I will say though, I'm happy with how my body's recovering. So yeah, I get out of there Sunday at 4, 5, 6 in the morning, whatever. And I'm on no sleep. Nothing. I just ran 80 miles and I got some food in me and went home. I slept for a couple hours at my parents' house. It felt like a 10-minute nap, but I woke up and I was like, what happened? And they were like, you slept for like over 2 hours. I was like, whoa. And then, so that was Sunday. I slept okay last night. I think I got like 6 or 7 hours, but I was out most of the time. I had some really bad brain fog. Not bad, but like some brain fog this morning. And I just get like short-tempered after these big ultras, like, but it's more so me because like somebody will be explaining something to me and like it just doesn't make sense. And I'm like so frustrated that I can't figure things out, but I'm feeling better. And anyway, no, well, yeah, I went to the doctors. Forgot to mention that. So I went to an ortho here first thing in the morning and checked out my knee. And it looked like we took x-rays, nothing there. He was feeling around and it sounds like it's something with my MCL. Obviously, we're going to need an MRI to look at that. Hoping it's not also my meniscus. But yeah, I can't really, like I can walk. And it's frustrating too because I really felt like I could run if it wasn't for this knee. Like my body recovered well. the longer I sit, the more stiff I get. But I just walked for a mile after work today, and I'm recording this on Monday night. Yeah, like recovered well, but just this knee. So we'll see. I'm trying to get an MRI scheduled, but that is the update. And I'm leaving in 3 weeks to go to hunt in Colorado and backpack up into 13,000-foot mountains. So got to make sure we're good. But anyway, that's the race. Seriously, that whole Central PA ultra running community, unbelievable, so awesome time, great people, all the volunteers, like so great, such a great event. Seriously, people, so I think the people that set that up also do a lot of other races up there. Like I know the Heiner 50K is popular, and there's just other like 100Ks, but like other trail races. Like seriously, if you can get up and get around those communities, or really any trail running community, you want to get into it. Like it's just so awesome. And yeah, shout out to all the volunteers, people put on the race. So again, just so tough. And like I said, I think another year of 50% dropped out. I looked at the results. A lot of those guys I was running with for the first 50 miles got in the top 10. The one guy I met was really cool. He finished second. And it was cool to throw down with those guys. I was by far the least experienced. I looked at some of these guys' stats and I was talking to them. They've had several hundreds under their belt, and they're the one dude consistently 120, 130 mile weeks. Like this is just what they do, and I think it's something I'm going to learn. Like if I want to be, it's one thing to train like an ultra runner, but it's going to be something different to be like I'm a 100-mile ultra runner, and I didn't spend a lot of months on trails. I had race in the spring and a big endurance event in December that I was going to do, but I had that broken ankle, and I don't know. I don't know if more training would have helped strengthen my legs to prevent this injury. I feel like my endurance was there, but a lot to learn, a lot to take away, and that's pretty much that. So I filmed a lot of it on my GoPro, like I said, and I'll be putting out a film on my YouTube, and I'll narrate the whole thing, try to make it some quality content like how I like. It's not coming out the way I thought it was going to come out, but I'll try to put something together. So stay tuned for that. I wanted to now dive into, and I can't believe I talked for 50 minutes about this whole race, but just some notes I have written here about failure and other things that this race and this whole experience taught me. So I have 5 things that I want to share, and these are 5 things that I'm not saying are law or are gospel. These are things that I'm going to carry out and try in my life, and people can take them if they want. Use if useful. I'm not saying this is right or wrong. I'm saying this is how I'm going to think about things. This is how I have thought about things. I read a lot of books about a growth mindset and success, and I'm taking nuggets from there. I'm taking nuggets from just other people that have done things, whether it's in ultra running or backcountry hunting or whatever. Just in any success in any craft in life, just trying to take their mindset, how they look at things, and this is how I'm going to carry out these things. And these are just 5 life lessons that I'm chewing on and going to carry out from this whole weekend and this will bring me to my first one, of a failure. So I've had a lot of messages that say this is still a great accomplishment. Can't stress this enough. I appreciate that so much. Everybody's being so nice and supportive, and don't take this the wrong way. Thank you for all that. But I, in my mind, am not saying that running these 80 miles was an accomplishment. It was not. This was a failure. I said I was going to run 100 miles. I deep down wanted to do it very competitively, and I did not. I did not finish. I left the race after 80 miles. I failed. Pause, and that's okay. So Alex Hormozy is a social media icon, entrepreneur kind of guy, but he has a lot of these frames that I like to agree with, where it's like something bad, a lot of people are going to tell you like, oh, no, like you didn't fail, or that's not bad, or whatever. No, this is what this is. and that's okay. So that's my point here. This is how I'm going to deal with me not achieving this big goal that I had. I did fail. I am not taking this as, we didn't really fail. It's okay. It's still such an accomplishment and blah. Because, again, I appreciate that. But that doesn't take me anywhere. That kind of like ends the journey. Like, hey, good job, buddy. That's it. Like, no. If my goal was to run as far as I could in like a day and I got to 80 miles, yeah, dude. Awesome. Really cool. That's not what I wanted. That's not what my goal was. So what I wrote down was failure is an accomplishment only when you learn from it, try again, and then succeed. And then if you don't succeed, you learn again and you try again and you repeat until you achieve your goal. So it's not okay. It's only okay when it fuels for the next try. Then it's even more than okay. Like, I do embrace the failure because this is only going to expose myself to what I need to work on, fuel me to train harder. Like I said, I threw down with some of these guys for 50 miles. I'm looking now at what they do to train. These guys are kicking my butt in training, honestly. This is me just being honest with the numbers, the weekly miles. They're just doing more. And maybe, like I said, that would help my strength in my lower body if I just did more. And that's okay. That's fine. That's what it takes. And that's the contract I'll sign. I think we just live in like a society that like failure is like an F on the test. And that's bad. And like there's something wrong with you. And like you don't get another try. Like you have to repeat the grade. I guess that's like another try. But like honestly, you're looked at as like a loser if you're repeating, 5th grade because you failed or something, or you're repeating like algebra. I don't think like that's the best way. I'm not saying I have a new way to reinvent the school system, but like failure is just looked at as this really bad thing, to where people that have kind hearts, and again, I'm so appreciative of, will tell you that you didn't fail. No, that's not a failure, blah, blah, blah. That's my point. I failed, but it's okay because I'm going to learn from it, let it fuel me, inspire me, and I'm literally shaking for my next 100 miler. I don't know when it's going to be. It's obviously going to be next year, but like, are you kidding? Like, I'm so stoked. I'm going to keep auditing this weekend, learn from everything, figure out what more strength I can do, whatever, increase volume, become more of a 100-mile ultra runner versus an ultra runner in my training. And yeah, I'll get it. Like, I'll get it. I was telling my friend, like, I can't wait to be the old dirtbag ultra runner that people think like, oh, he runs 100-milers and, it's just easy for him. No, I'm going to have this story of, no, my first one, I DNF'd. Yeah, my knee blew up and I probably went out too hard, but like, at the end of the day, I did not finish my first one. It was like a hell of an experience. And that's going to be my story. And how awesome is that going to be? So like, I already know that's what's going to happen. But that's all going to come from this fueled failure of this weekend. So that's how I'm framing it. I did fail, but I'm not quitting the bigger picture. I'm just expanding the time horizon. But I did fail this weekend, and that's okay. So that was number one. Number two, there are those who are humbled and those who are about to be. So I definitely stole that from somewhere. I've heard that multiple times, but I'm a little bit grateful for this failure because I'll be honest. Every year, the last few years, I've set big goals for myself. Racing, marathons, ultras, like backpack hunting, setting up a podcast, buying a house, fixing a house, all these things. And when I've committed, like I've achieved them. Sub 3 hour marathon, I did that. 2 hour, 50-minute marathon, I did that. Fixed up this house, did that. Shot my first elk, did that. Launched this platform, did that. Like, I think it's important to set huge goals. And I think you're on the right track if there are some that you don't achieve, because you always want to be pushing the threshold of what you believe is possible. And every year, if you're achieving all your goals, maybe they aren't big enough, is something I've been thinking about. Also, how humbling this is for me. I can't even tell you. I had a friend lined up to be at the finish line. I was paying her money to I mean, she was very helpful. Like, we worked a deal, and I was very appreciative of her, and she wasn't charging me an arm and a leg like at all. But anyway, point is, like, I had this set up. I was looking everybody dead in the eye and be like, I'm completing this race. I'm going to finish it well, like competitively. And that's the way it is. Like, no doubt. This race absolutely humbled me. And I think I needed it. I'm always trying to check my ego, because people that have a huge ego, just like, it really gets under my skin. And I really try not to be like that. I like to read a lot about stoicism and things. And that's a lot of that content in there is all about checking your ego. And I think this was a great punch in the face for me. Also, like I said, meeting these guys, throwing down with them for 50 miles, but then really learning that, like, oh, these guys, like, have lots of 100-milers and 100Ks and a lot of these huge races under their belts. And they were also, like, placing a lot of them. Like, some of these guys, I looked at, like, their Ultra sign-up results, and that shows all the races that they've done over the years. So it's like, dude, I don't have that. I don't. Like, I've won a few local races, but I've only done, like, count on one hand how many ultras I've done, and I've only done 100-mile week. All these things. Point is, like, there's people working harder than me. It's naive of me to think that I can get what they want or get what they have, top 10 finishes in eastern states, and not have had the experience and put in the work that they have. And that's okay. Like, that's just what's required to get that. And I don't have that. So, nice little ego check for me to be like, hey, keep working, but you might not have had the inputs you thought you'd have to get there. So, I'm okay with that, because that just is going to yield me working a little bit harder and delaying my gratification a little bit, which I also think is a huge issue in today's world. Everybody just, doesn't understand delayed gratification, and I'm not perfect with it either, but, like, that's essentially what I'm doing. Even with number one lesson, like, I'm delaying my gratification of that accomplishment. I'm saying that I failed right now, but it's only going to delay that gratification, and then I'll achieve that goal. I'll get my first 100-mile buckle at a competitive pace, and I'm just delaying that gratification. So that's number two. Humbled. Probably needed it. Number three. Patience is just everything. Like, I think people like to talk about, like, grinding it out, like grit, mental fortitude, mental toughness, enduring, all these things. Patience. Patience is, like, the key with everything. Who's gonna stick it out in their business long enough before they quit? Who's gonna stick it out in the race, before they quit? Who's gonna, like, deal with, like, the pain of, how hard a relationship is before they, just cut it off? Like, whatever. Like, it's patience, and it's just working through things, keeping your mind occupied, maybe even distract yourself. Like, so that's sometimes a key too, where it's like things just take time, and the more you fixate on it, the harder it's going to be to hold on. So just thinking about something else, like, that's what I do in this race. Like, there's actually some mental practices in running big ultras where it's like, put your mind somewhere else if you're, like, not in a good flow and the miles are just going so slow. Think about, like, an extensive, like, list. Like, think about, like, you're putting a dinner together with, like, a recipe. And it's like, okay, get really detailed. Like, okay, I need the flour. I need the sugar. I need to measure out, like, 1 cup of flour. Put that in the bowl. Measure out a half cup of water. Put that in the bowl. Measure out, or crack 2 eggs. Put that in the bowl. And then I'm going to mix it all together. And, like, just, like, play a game like that. Like, how long can you play out that scenario. Like you're cooking something and then you have a dinner. It's like, okay, who am I inviting to this dinner? Like I'm going to do this. And next thing you know, like a couple miles went by. So like what I like to do is like I think of my gear list for like my elk hunt. Like, okay, what am I going to start with? Okay, I'm going to start with like, I'm going to pack my boots. Okay, I'm going to put a backup pair of boots in my truck. Okay, how many pairs of socks am I bringing? I'm going to bring a heavy pair or a light pair. And like I'll start at the feet and like work my way up, and then I'll get into like my camping gear and like all those things. And sometimes I don't even get through the whole list because then I'll get like back into like a flow by the time I'm done like with my clothes or something, you know? So that's just something I've found that, you know, sometimes things in life just take time, and sometimes who can ever be the most patient and just keep going. Sometimes keep yourself occupied just to stay in the game longer. Apply that to your craft, your business, your relationship. Just stay in the game, find a way. If you have to distract yourself a little bit, that could be what it takes. So that was number 3. Number 4, there are always people working harder than you. Always. And that's okay. Learn from it and learn from them. And let it inspire you. I think that's where people get really hamstring themselves watching things on YouTube or social media. You know, Cam Hanes has like the must be nice being that guy, doesn't have a job. And he can do all these things, or, you know, that person just has the great genetics, or that person just grew up physically fit, or be able to run or lift heavy weights, or come from a family of money, or like all these things. And they just think like that's it. Versus they can look at those people and just break it down and say like, well, what are they doing like in their diet? Like, what are they doing in their training? Like, what are they doing with like their business, or what are they doing with like adding value to people for their content or anything like that? And they just start breaking things down and looking at things like, how can I do that even just on a micro scale? Because that's actually how it starts. Like, if you look at the guy with the 6-pack and think like, just the guy always had that, and that's just the way it is, and his diet's perfect, the training's perfect, and like if you're not taking all that in on day one, like that habit and that lifestyle, then throw it all away. Like, that's not how it works. Like, just take small little pieces of that pie with like the diet, for example. Like, you start small, cutting out processed foods. Okay, that's where you start. And you kind of just let that goal, maybe it's that person, or maybe not that person, the trait or the skill that they have, and that's what you aspire to be, or that's what you aspire to have. You look at the small micro decisions that they're doing every day. If that's what you want, the skill or what they do, whatever, you look at it on a small scale, break it down, apply it to your own life, and then you just stay in the game. Literally, that's what I did with running. I watched people that ran 100 miles, how they do these big races. I'm going to apply that to like my little 5K run I'm going to do on Sunday. Literally, that's it. Just kept adding on to that slower and slower over the course of years, running marathons, ultras, all these things. So there's always people working harder than you, but there's no magic to them. There's nothing special about them. They've just been working harder, and they've been working harder for longer. So that's something I have to tell myself too. Like, some of these guys have just been in the game longer. Like, there's only so many weeks a year where I can do like 100 miles a week. Like, some of these guys, like I won't catch just because of the whole concept of time and when I started versus when they started. But just going to let that inspire me and learn from that and keep going, versus like, oh, well, they must just get paid to run ultra marathons for a living, or get paid to do whatever for a living, which, like, that's really not that common. Like, you're talking about just a few people on the internet. Like, I don't know. I'm blown away at some of these ultra marathons where I meet people that, yeah, they have regular jobs. Some of them are blue collar. Some of them, like a lot of guys, and girls, oh my God, some of these women are badass. They have kids and they live like normal lives, but they do not spend their weekends drinking. They do not waste any time. They get up hour, 2 hours, sometimes 3 hours before work and get their miles in. And they have kids, and they work it out with their partners that, like, you know, somebody watches the kid while they get out and run for an hour or whatever. There's just people out there working harder than you. There's no magic that they have that you don't. And that's just the way it is. So just start learning from them, let that inspire you, and get in the game and stay in the game. That was number 4. Number 5. Last one. And this is like one of my favorite expressions. I kind of touched on this a little bit, but macro goals are made in the micro. Breaking things down. Everybody knows the expression, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. Like, trying to explain to people how to run, damn, I wish I could sit here and say 100 miles at a time, but I can't. 80 miles. How can you run 80 miles or 70 miles or whatever, or a marathon at 6 minute, 25 second minute per mile? Like, can't fathom doing that. I am sitting here telling you I can't either. I can't fathom it in one big bite like how you think it's done either. That's not how it's done. Everything is broken down smaller and smaller. And I might go into a big race where I'm like, okay, I'm going to play this, 100 milers, 4 marathons. I'm going to break it down by marathon. Things start to really suck. I break it down by aid station. And that's what I was doing for a lot of this race. And it worked really well. Actually, what I was doing at the start was I was breaking it down by the aid station with the drop back. So it was like, you start line, and then it was mile 17, and then 43, and then 62, and then 80, and then 90, which I didn't get to, and then the finish. I was breaking it down like that, like the big aid stations, every 20 to 25 miles, whatever. When that got too hard, I broke it down by aid station. I didn't think beyond that at all. At all. Like, that's the key to, like, enduring something long. Breaking things down and focus just on what's in front of you. So I'd focus on, I get to an aid station, be like, what's this next section? All right, it's 7 miles, a 1,200-foot climb, run a ridge top for another 3 miles, and then 1,200 foot down. Okay, check. Like, that's it. That's all you're focusing on. When my freaking knee was blowing up and I said running, there's no more running, we're hiking this, it was mile by mile. That's all I did. I was at mile 70 and I didn't think about mile 84. I didn't think about how am I going to do this for 30 more miles. I didn't think about like the finish line. I just thought about that mile and getting to the next one. And then I played the game again. That's it. Whole new game. That my watch would tick. It might have said at this point like a 25-minute mile. I didn't care. Played the game again. Next mile. Same thing. That's all we're doing. Focusing on the next mile. And that's it. I maybe had something going in my headphones to help distract myself. That's like I said, that helps with that patience. That's the key. It's just breaking things down. And then when it was really bad and I was limping and I was, on a mountain by myself in the dark, 3 miles from the next aid station or anything, and in excruciating pain, I took it probably 10 minutes at a time, which was probably like a half mile or maybe even less, or might even took more for me to get a half mile at that point. But that's what I did. And then literally it got to a point where it was one step at a time. Like, I'm not just saying that one step at a time. 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, the worst pain I felt on my body in my knee. The goal was take one more step. Took the other step. Let's play another game. Can I take another step? Yes. Took another step. Let's play another game. Can we take another step? Yes. Took another step. Again, from 1 a.m. to 3 a.m., that's the game I played to get to mile 80. And that's where that aid station was. And ultimately, that's where I DNF'd. But that's what got me there. I had no other option. Nobody's coming up this trail. The single track trail was on this side hill of this mountain. You're not getting a vehicle in there. It's just enough on this little bench coming off this big steep face of this mountain. And nobody's carrying me. That's how you do it. And the pain was unbearable beyond that after I got to that aid station. But that's the game I played to get me there. I don't even think if I tried to play that game to get me to the finish. I'd make it by the cutoff, but at that point, it was I couldn't fathom taking another step. But that's it, though. It's literally how you do things that take a long time. When I was fixing up this house, most of it I didn't know what I was doing. I just took it one day at a time. Like today, we're just gonna put in the toilet. We're just gonna put in the next few like feet off the wall for like the new floors. We're just gonna put in like the door casing on the closet. Like that's it. Like when it gets harder, like maybe some days where it was like, no, the goal is like we're gonna do this whole floor. But when things got too hard or overwhelmed, it was like, all right, break it down. What's one smaller thing we can do right now? And that's all you do. Take another step, keep going. So that was number 5. Those were the 5 things I've learned from this weekend of my 100-mile ultra marathon attempt failure. But that doesn't mean I'm quitting. This is all part of the journey, and I'm so beyond stoked for my next 100-miler. I know I'm going to crush it. I'm going to train like a madman. I'm so excited. I believe I can do it. I'm going to get this knee right here, rest up the next few weeks, go kill a big mule deer in Colorado, go kill a big bull in Idaho, come back and do all my hunting here, and just have a kick butt fall. But that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. I'll leave you with a quote I like to think about from Kobe Bryant. So Kobe did a few podcasts before he died, and when he was asked about what he thinks of failure, Kobe responded with, he thought failure was exciting because it shows you exactly what you need to do to get better for next time. So that's why I like to say I did fail. I'm embracing this failure, but it's okay. It's exciting. This whole experience is only going to make me a better ultra runner. And that's what I need to do to achieve the goals I have in ultra, in backcountry hunting, in growing this platform, growing as a man in life, and just all aspects of life, just trying to get better. So embracing the failure, that is the Eastern States 100 recap. That is the 5 lessons learned from this weekend. I hope you guys enjoyed this solo cast, and we will catch you on the next one. All right, everybody. Let's have a great week. See ya. Hey, if you liked that episode, please share it with a friend, share it on your story, and give the podcast a rating and a review on wherever you listen. For more of this type of content, you can head over to the YouTube channel and follow along on all the social platforms. Really appreciate it. See you on the mountain.